Welcome, everyone, and thank you so very much for joining me today for another episode of Talking Cloud. Now, you know, this is where we talk about cloud, all things, anything cloud, and it is such an enormous word. Everything has to do with cloud these days, and so there's lots and lots to talk about. Now, you know, no matter what it is about the cloud, I'm no expert. But I do know where to find experts. And today I'm super excited because I have two of the smartest women I think I've ever met with regards to understanding this thing called the cloud, and in particular the cloud from a channel perspective. And I'll let them talk more about it. We all know the multi-cloud challenge of navigating these multi-billion giant organizations. These ladies have assembled the keys to the kingdom to get you in and really make hay. It's really awesome what they're doing. And, you know, both have a long resume. I don't have time to go through it all. You can see them on LinkedIn. We're here to talk about their particular and unique effort in founding an organization specifically focused on multi-cloud. So I'm really thrilled and excited to introduce Leah McLean and Sandhya Gorman. They're both joining me, and I want to thank you ladies both very much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you, Grant.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Yes, very excited to be here. And wow, what an intro. Thank you.
So one of you kick off and kind of talk a little bit about what's going on, and the other can fill in, and we'll just go from there.
Sure. Well, I'll kick it off. Leah McLean here. And again, thanks for having us. Just a little bit more about my background. I do come from a all tech background and have been working in the partnership space and with cloud service providers for the last 5+ years and more. And I'd say all things partners and cloud and technology, and have been excited that I got to cross paths with Sandhya in my career to lead us to here. So, Sandhya.
Thank you, Leah, and thank you, Grant. It's funny. So I've also been in the cloud world for the past 5 or so years, and Leah and I met while we were partner alliance persons, and Leah was my account, and we not only were able to work together and deliver some results for our respective companies in the cloud, but we also became friends. And over time, as we got to know each other and as we got more involved in the cloud, we realized that there was a gap in the industry, and that everybody that we knew that was working for a third-party ISV or a reseller or channel partner was having challenges working with cloud service providers, and that it can be more of an art than a science. But over time, we developed a formula and some expertise, and we decided to start MultiCloud Leadership Alliance for the purpose of filling a gap in the industry and to share knowledge. And Leah, I think you can maybe talk a little bit more about what MultiCloud Leadership Alliance is doing, MCLA. We have a few really concrete goals that we're trying to take care of here.
Okay, I want to say it again. MCLA, MultiCloud Leadership Alliance, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's expand on that. What is MultiCloud Leadership Alliance?
Sure. We are a think tank, essentially, a consortium, if you will. And really, we are focused on educating the C-level and strategic alliance teams. And as Sandhya mentioned, those who are in any role that they're having to work with cloud service providers and trying to tackle the partnerships and deployment strategies with each of them, whether it's AWS, Azure, GCP, or other. So we essentially built a community of members. We've got over 160 today.
Good. Wow, 160.
Yeah. When we just started back November 2019, so just over a year old.
Wow, congratulations. That's really outstanding.
Yeah, we're pretty excited to have seen the growth and the energy behind it. It's all like-minded people who are focused on the ideas to really create the better partner experience with the cloud service providers and ultimately a better customer experience. So, the three main goals of the Alliance is really, one is educating members on the cloud service providers, on the program offerings and how to navigate each one and connect with the right people. The second goal is to serve as a source for networking and connecting with other like-minded people in the same roles to help solve for better collaboration with the cloud service providers. And then third and last is providing customized consulting and go-to-market strategies among the cloud service providers, ISVs, and channel partners for some of our clients.
Got it. So when you say the cloud ISV, are you talking about the big ones, the primary ones, and navigating the waters of the Googles and Azures and AWSs of the world?
Yeah, those are our primary ones because they're the most popular in the market and they have the most customers. But we are seeing Red Hat Marketplace, IBM Cloud, as well as Oracle Cloud become more and more relevant and more in the news. So we have experience and have people who are experienced in our organization working with the other cloud providers. An interesting one would be Alibaba. They are just surfacing to the top of the chain. So we definitely want to look into those guys.
Got it. So I'm curious now, obviously, we're not talking about how to navigate through finding the greatest Lambda functions, or are we? I mean, this is more programmatic. And who's your target audience to holding the hand, if you will, or showing with breadcrumbs how to navigate these ISVs? Software vendors, hardware vendors, enterprises? Who are you soliciting as clients?
Sure. Primarily it's the other software vendors out there. It could be the independent software vendors. It could be managed service providers or managed security service providers, system integrators, you name it. So essentially any company, primarily software with cloud initiatives that are working with these cloud service providers that have a big need to expand on the partnerships from a programmatic and strategic side. And, as minimum as, hey, I need to get started with one of them. I don't even know who to talk to, which group to go to, how do I start where? It's a range in that aspect. And our audience is primarily those who are in sales or channel partnerships or strategic alliances and managing directly the partnerships with these cloud service providers.
Got it.
Grant, I'd like to expand on that. I think one thing that you mentioned earlier is go-to-market. That is just one piece of what we do in MultiCloud Leadership Alliance. What we've realized over time that when you want to succeed as an ISV or as a third-party vendor of software and services, you really need to double down on joint go-to-marketing, co-selling, but you also have to know the ins and outs of how the product and service teams work at each of the cloud providers. And they're segmented differently. They're organized differently. They have different partner programs, different partner trainings. So it's more than just a go-to-market expertise that we can bring to the table. It's sort of the full-on, how do you work with a cloud service provider? How do you succeed and drive revenue with a cloud service provider? Leveraging your sales team, your marketing teams, and your engineering and product teams, and working with the cloud service providers.
Right.
And Leah, I think there's even more than that I've missed. We've seen a lot of our members succeed in other ways. What else
I'll just give a few examples of some of the members and clients that they come to us for, even beyond that. But, there's those who they need to recreate their pricing list, for example, right? Because now they're looking at transitioning to the subscription or pay-as-you-go model, similar to what the cloud service providers have. And they need to map that to working to be a partner, not just with the cloud service provider, but selling to, through, and with that cloud service provider to other partners that are in the ecosystem for those cloud service providers. So it can be, as functional as that. And then just the education too, we get quite a bit of, which is why, as part of what we offer to our members through quarterly meetings and that access to specialized content for members only, we also have guest speakers and influencers from sometimes the cloud service providers, but other third-party organizations that come to talk about their experiences and working with the cloud service providers to kind of share and pass along best practices. And then, we were doing regional meetups, but that with the pandemic, obviously it's a lot virtual, but we've got folks in Israel, talk about another country, right? In terms of global, Seattle, Dallas, San Francisco Bay Area, and New York. So we're pretty lucky.
Great.
Oh, I was going to say, and our reach also goes beyond just ISVs. Leah might have mentioned this earlier, but we do have end customers, people in C-suite positions who are part of our organization. So we're always learning from the end customer perspective and have contacts and can leverage their knowledge to make things better for the ISVs, for the cloud service providers, and at the end of the day, the end customer.
And how would you engage with, an enterprise end user as opposed to an ISV that's, I think I understand, Leah, certainly every organization that's sold product with an annual license, and now they are told, if you want to leverage me being the Amazon or one of the cloud providers, you need to support the marketplace. And that doesn't only mean you have to support the marketplace from a technology perspective, but as you so accurately put, some of the more challenging decisions have to do with the pricing and how you actually end up packaging and selling those products, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of it does come down to within just not selling through the marketplace, but the integration you have with the services from the cloud service providers, right? So I think you mentioned Lambda a little bit earlier. So that's where we see some of these end users that, they come to us and say, hey, I think I need to integrate with more services. And I'm trying to figure out which ones. Can you maybe help me? Or here's what I have so far. What more do I need to do? But, we've certainly got, between our founding members, there's 9 of them, and with the 2 of us, so 11 of us with expertise across all areas, and down to some of those members, founding members who have some technical expertise, which is great, that can help them with that. Absolutely. But we also partner with some other companies who have more of that extensive knowledge and expertise on the technical and the architecture side. So we can refer our members to those and, members of the end users who might need more of that in depth. So it's great that we've been able to formulate more friends in the industry, so to speak, to give us more of an offering for members.
Do you go out? Do you interact, solicit, engage with the traditional VAR channel at all? Are they also members? Seems like there's some need there.
Again, the gamut of the type of companies we have within our membership are the ISVs, VARs, resellers, MSPs, et cetera. Because if you think about this whole shift in what's happened with the technology and advancements, is that some of these VARs and resellers were primarily selling hardware, right? Yep. So they've moved more into software and cloud, and they're growing out business practices dedicated to those areas. So they need to get started with the cloud service providers. So we've had to help make a lot of introductions for them, to them. So definitely a lot of evolution.
This may not be a perfect example, but I think of the federal government and the enormity of the programs they offer. Even if you want to just take one sector, education, right? And the enormous amount of money that is available, but you really got to know what the heck you're doing, and you got to go through all of the ticks on the boxes and navigate the waters. And sometimes that can be a real arduous task. And I can see it being very similar dealing with some of these large ISVs, and where you could really help streamline finding my way around the halls of Azure.
Yeah. And what I'd like to add to that, Grant, everything comes back to the customer. What is it that the customer wants? And the customer may have special requirements. If it's a Department of Defense customer, a government customer, do they need to use a sheltered GovCloud, or do they need to use a completely air-gapped, intelligence community cloud where no information goes in and out of that particular building? Mm-hmm. Secondly, the other thing that the customers are coming to us, and this kind of relates back to the ISVs and as well as why we have channel partners. Everybody wants to reduce procurement friction. Procurement, traditionally, you buy direct from an ISV, or you use a channel partner, a value-added reseller, or a managed service provider who doesn't just now they cannot just resell you hardware from an OEM. What they have to do is sell you the software and package that up with value-added services. And if I can go to a cloud marketplace or work with a cloud provider as a one-stop shop to not only get my infrastructure and use the cloud provider for infrastructure as a service, I could use third-party software, I could use value-added services from a reseller or a managed service provider, and all of that is billed to me via one entity, the cloud provider. It just makes my procurement as an end customer frictionless. I don't have to go to each entity and establish a 6 to 8 week procurement process and get the contract signed and get all the legal signed. It's a very, very much of a procurement, less friction. And the cloud providers are savvy enough that they offer benefits to customers who transact through their marketplaces or utilize their services beyond just the third-party software offering.
Oh, the benefits of the agile cloud, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's, I heard a good one today. I was talking to a guy, got to give it to him, because it was really great. He says, with cloud, you can't say no with an N, you got to change it to a K. No longer can you say no. You've got to really know all of the things that are available and what you can do. And the world's vastly different, to be able to build up and tear down and rebuild again in seconds. The world's changing a lot, and certainly navigating the waters and knowing who to talk to about this program or how to introduce your product or how to participate in marketing programs with Google or Microsoft or Amazon or Alibaba or any of the others. I could really see the value of the services that you ladies are assembling.
Yeah. And, one interesting one we've been getting quite a bit more lately, the last 6 months, I'd say, is a lot of startup companies. They have minimal resources, and I think you really see us as that extended arm for them. And what they often don't know is, well, don't they have to be a much bigger company with lots of revenue to get in to work with the cloud service providers? And that's not the case, right? Each of them do actually have programs for startups. There are small things that you can do now to grow. And I think it's really important that, we keep iterating this, but that, again, a lot of what we convey in education is, it's a journey. It's not just set it and forget it, put it in the marketplace, and you're off making millions. It's a lot of time, dedication, work to be put in, and really getting connected with the right folks. And then of all the programs, which one makes sense, and what budget do you have now versus where you can spend later, and how do you work with the other partners and leverage what they're doing with the cloud service providers to make it work for you too, especially if you're, a younger or smaller company. So different angles and avenues to be successful. It's just a matter of, guiding them and sharing those best practices and giving them that knowledge and helping them to make it a little more easier for them, because it can be, as Sandhya said, we met when I had to bring in a former employer that was into AWS, and that was the second time I had to do it. And I was still, trudging along, and it took me quite a while, whereas now it's a lot faster for both of us to be able to do that.
Well, I always say we can learn this from physics. The way you move mountains is with constant, steady pressure. There is no overnight success. Anybody that has had overnight success, if you peel it 9 times out of 10, they've been working at their craft for a long, long time. It's just recently that you discovered them. So I think what your philosophy and approach is spot on. So let me ask you, ladies, I hope that we've got listeners that are going, wow, I could really use their help. How do they get a hold of you? How do they get engaged? How do they get involved? Is there a fee, a cost? What? Outline the program a little bit for me, if you can, please.
Okay, sure. First of all, we have a public LinkedIn group, a public LinkedIn page, MultiCloud Leadership Alliance. So look us up on LinkedIn. Secondly, we have a website, MultiCloudLeadership.com. And you can reach us there. If you want to get a hold of us personally, you may email info@multicloudalliance.net, or Leah at multicloudalliance.net, or Sandhya at multicloudalliance.net. We're pretty accessible. We're excited to work with different organizations, and we are ready to answer questions.
All right. So that's how to get a hold of you. Now, can you outline, without obviously going into too many details, as much as you'd like anyway, how do I get involved? What's involved on my side?
Join our LinkedIn group. Reach us via email. If you want us to do some consulting, we're more than happy to talk to you about our consulting services and do a brief consultation free of charge. It's easy as just emailing us or visiting our website or going to our LinkedIn group.
Got it.
Yeah, and I was just going to elaborate that we actually have, go ahead, check us out on the website, and they can navigate to see the 3 tiers of membership that we have that fits organizations all the way from if you're an individual to a startup to a large enterprise company. So lots of information out there, and definitely we'd love to connect with you and hear more about what you're up to and see how we can help.
Yeah, okay. It's MultiCloudLeadership.com.
That's correct.
MultiCloudLeadership.com is the website where they can go and see your programs and offerings. They can find you on LinkedIn. They can always send you a message now. LinkedIn's making that real easy. So people can certainly find you. Sounds like there's some really exciting future for MCLA, because there's an enormous number of startups, as you ladies know, in the cloud, and in particular AI, machine learning, IoT. All of these are tangentially cloud related. And then, of course, the whole shift left emphasis and moving to serverless and functions and Kubernetes and all the other things. I think there's probably a huge line of companies that if they knew about you, they'd be rattling your cage for help. So hopefully we'll flush a few more from the bush for you and get you a few more members.
Oh, that would be great, Grant. Yes, of course, we would love that.
Really, I have to tell you both, ladies, I'm so impressed from when we initially spoke not quite a year ago, and how you have built and evolved this organization. It's really, really something, and I'm excited to see what you guys do in the future. I'm going to ask all of our listeners, please check them out. This is a good, needed thing in the marketplace right now. There's a lot of misunderstanding, a huge knowledge gap, not only on the technical side, but just navigating the waters of these now behemoths that are commanding all of us jump in their giant ships with them. So, Sandhya, Leah, thank you, ladies, very, very much for making time to be on the program. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and I really appreciate you being here.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for the time, Grant.
Yes, thank you, Grant, for the opportunity again. And yeah, we have a lot of fun, Sandhya and I, with the members and our other founding members doing this. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you as well. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Another one's in the books, another episode of Talking Cloud. I sure appreciate you listening, sharing, subscribing, tell your friends. And we look forward to having you back on our next episode of Talking Cloud. Yeah.